Yay, okay, here we are. Finally. Okay, so it is number 8 of 15 live, and I am once again, per usual, same deal. While I'm waiting for anybody to hop on, I'm just going to go ahead and share, and you do the same. So please share. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and then we're going to get started. We're going to talk about inflammation, which is a really big, important piece to your success. And this is one of my favorite topics because it's something that I think people don't even consider or even ever think of. Okay, so let me, let's see. Say hello when you're here. Okay, and like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and share this to a couple of my groups, and then we will be good. Okay, I think we are good to roll. Okay, awesome. All right, so we are going to talk about inflammation. If you're live, you will see this red tag right here. If you are not, then that red tag is gone. Just hit hashtag replay. When you hop on, just say hello. If it's just me and, you know, talking to my computer, that's totally fine too. I'm completely comfortable. And it's Sunday, and I know that Sundays, most people around this time are usually preparing for the week. So inflammation, that is something, again, I think that it is kind of a buzzword that is becoming, I think there's more awareness. And I also think that it is becoming something that, you know, people really pay attention to they never did before. And I do have my notes over here, so I'm going to grab my notes. But what inflammation is it's basically your body's response to feeling like, you know, it thinks that there's something going on. So it's kind of like a protection, right? So it's like a response to injuries. So let's say, for example, we think of inflammation, let's say there's an injury, you know, and we just think of it in that way, like, oh, it's just inflamed. That's just inflammation. Oh, it's you know, it's healing, so it's inflamed, right? So it's a common thing that people relate to that, but they don't realize that the inflammation can be caused by other things as well, and could also be hindering you on a day-to-day basis. So inflammation, like I said, it's an immune response to protect the body. That's all it really is. So it's kind of like the way that my mentor kind of described it is that inflammation is kind of like the dump trucks after a demolition has been done. That inflammation is the dump trucks to come and clean up the mess, if that makes sense. And so oftentimes, though, like I said, people look at it as like, oh, that's common when you have an injury. Let's say you twisted or broke your ankle, or you broke your arm, or you had surgery and, you know, your incision is inflamed, right? So that's a very common thing. Now, what most people, I think, aren't aware of is that inflammation can be caused from food, and that a lot of people are walking around inflamed all day long. I mean, I can spot it on people easily. Generally, if somebody looks puffy and what's another word that I'm looking for? Bloated. You know, generally, I know that that is inflammation. So if I see somebody that has this puff to their face, I immediately know that that is definitely inflammation. And they're probably walking around with this feeling, and it has become their new normal because they don't know the difference of what it feels like to not have that inflammation. So the way that they are operating in their everyday lifestyle, they have become accustomed to, and they have no idea what it feels like to feel any different. So let's talk about, you know, so we know some of the things that cause inflammation. So let's talk about specifically what foods could be in your diet that you had no idea could be causing you inflammation. Alcohol is a big one. So oftentimes people, after they drink, they will get, they'll have that puffy kind of appearance to their face, you know, that is inflammation. Sometimes, you know, I know if I have alcohol, I feel extremely achy and puffy. I also get a puffy pocket underneath my eye. It's generally on this side. Sometimes it'll be on both, but it's very, very adamant here on this side. And I will also get that when I eat gluten. Okay, so alcohol is a big inflammation causing item that you could be ingesting. So if you happen to notice, or, let's say you've known somebody that had, drank quite often, and then all of a sudden they went through this kind of non-drinking, they look different, they just don't look as puffy and bloated and spongy. Spongy is a good word. That's the word I was thinking of, spongy. Okay, then the next one would be sugar. So sugar is basically that's like putting, fuel on fire. Sugar is a huge one when it comes to inflammation. Just kind of like when somebody goes for a test for cancer, what do they put into the body? What are they injected with? They inject them with sugar. And, sugar is definitely something that if you're eating sugar, you definitely want to reduce and then ultimately eliminate it. There are other options for you to sweeten your food with. A lot of it, let's just kind of go off topic here for a second, but oftentimes it's just retraining your palate. If we have trained our palate to be accustomed to having sugar, then we have this specific taste, the memory, and the whole experience that is attached to it. And then if you switch away from sugar to, let's say, stevia, you're immediately going to go, oh, that tastes terrible. It's bitter. It doesn't, I just can't. So kind of like when I've been trying to switch my mom off of regular sugar into stevia, that was one of her biggest complaints was, oh my gosh, I just can't handle the taste. But I just kept swearing to her, like, listen, you just have to retrain the palate. You're just, used to having regular sugar for so many years. And of course, you're gonna notice that difference, because it does. It tastes a lot different. Okay, so alcohol is one, sugar is another, processed meat. Like salami, bacon, those types of meats. But you can get different processed meats that are a little better for you. Like if I were to have some kind of a lunch meat, it's generally like Boar's Head brand, like the ham. Occasionally I'll have some other salami and such, but I do try to limit it because, once again, because of the inflammation. Next would be pop, energy drinks, those sorts of drinks. Definitely you want to reevaluate your relationship with that once again. Again, it's just, if you really think about all these things that I'm naming, they were things that have been created, not, it's not like they came from the earth or something. So think about that. So just kind of keep what you eat very natural, as far as, the general rule I think that Jillian Michaels had said was, if it didn't have a mother or come from the ground, then you should really not eat it. So that means that it has been made, man-made, or made in a factory. Okay. The next thing is bread. And I had just mentioned how gluten affects me, how you'll definitely see like a puffy pocket underneath my face. It causes the achy inflammation in me. It does not do me well. I can occasionally have some here and there. Like the other night, I had a few pretzels and like a smaller regular piece of pizza, but I knew that when I woke up yesterday that I was going to have a puffy pocket. Now, if you saw when I went on live yesterday morning, you would have seen that I had some of that inflammation underneath my eye. And if maybe you have it sometimes, and maybe you wake up with that sometimes, that you just don't really know what it is, you might say, oh, I just slept on my face wrong, or I slept on that side, so there's all this extra puffiness over here. Generally, it's not the way you slept. It's probably what you ate, and it's inflammation. So this is really just all about getting in tune with your body and figuring out what foods speak to you and what don't. So I am well aware of the foods that work for me and what don't. And the ones that don't, it depends on how bad I want to deal with the consequences, So I thought, oh gosh, that pizza does and looks and smells really good. I have a small piece, big deal. So I had a little small piece, and it wasn't that bad. Okay. So how can we reduce inflammation? Well, first of all of those things that I had mentioned you want to reduce. Oh, another thing that I want to mention too, this is a really, really, really important one. This is a really, really big one. And yeah, I think you're going to be very surprised. Maybe some of you may not. However, when you think about inflammation, you probably don't consider exercise. You probably think that, oh, exercise is the way to go. Exercise is the answer to everything. And it's not. Just letting you know that. Sometimes you may be putting too much stress on your body and could be then causing inflammation. Okay, so why would exercise cause inflammation? Well, if you think about it, when you exercise, what are you doing? Like, especially when you're weight training, you are breaking down the muscle. So therefore you are damaging the muscle. So then what does that do? It signals the body to say, hey, I've got some damage going on here. So then what happens? Then the inflammation will come to try to repair. So if you really think about it, inflammation can be, exercise can cause inflammation. So if you're somebody that really wants to, look lean and all of that, but then you just keep exercising, and you're wondering why you can't see your six pack, if that's your goal, or if you're wondering why you're still a little extra puffy and you can't see those the definition that you're looking for, chances are that you're not recovering properly. You're not giving the body the rest that it needs, right? So here's a great example, and this is funny because I had just experienced this whole thing myself. So for several weeks, I had been working out 5 to 7 days, not because I felt that I needed to, not because I felt that I wanted to. I mean, not because I felt like it was an expectation, but it was because I wanted to. It was because I felt good and I wanted to, right? So that was my pattern for several weeks. Well, then my daughter got sick, and then oh, and I should back up that I do weigh in once a week with my nutrition coach. And so I had kind of, I don't like to use the word plateau, but I guess that's the word that you could use. And I don't put too much stock into the scale. I think you are well aware of that, but we just use the scale as a clue. That's it. Okay. So it's kind of like I had this conversation with several of my clients this past week about how if you let's say, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but you kind of have to look at it as just one piece that tells a story. And so how I explained it was, I said that would kind of be like if you had a CSI investigator come in and look to investigate a murder, and he just used one clue and said, that's it, that's how it was done, that's the person who did it, I know it was this, without piecing everything together. That's not how the CSI works, right? There's all these different clues that you have to piece together. It's the same thing with your body. So back to the body in my workout routine. So 5 to 7 days consistently, mostly 5, and then I had like the last 3 to 4 weeks where my routine has not had, it got the consistency thrown off, but I was still going, but not as often. So more so your head will mess with you more than anything. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good control over that, because I know that I can say, okay, that was a really dumb thought. And, like, go away thought, that's really stupid. But I think that this is where the exercise more, eat less mentality comes in. And, that's why I want to mention this. But my weight was the same for about 3 weeks. And, no big deal, whatever. It just, I understand that's just how the body works. And so my former self would have probably said, my weight's not budging because I haven't worked out. Oh my God, I'm a loser. Oh my God, I'm losing control. That's it. Let me go eat a pizza. I'll just start over, that whole mentality. But no, I never thought that. I just kept plugging away, doing whatever, what I could when I could. And so 3 weeks went by. I usually weigh in on Friday. So even this Friday morning, I weighed in, messaged my coach and said, hey, still the same weight, no big deal. I'll message you on Sunday with my input form. And something told me when I woke up this morning to weigh myself, because I normally don't weigh that often, obviously just once a week, but I'm not the everyday weigher, but something guided me to step on that scale. So I stood on the scale and I lost 2 pounds. And I was like, okay, well, right on. So here's the story. Here's this moral of the story, I guess you would say. Why am I sharing this story with you? Because I then messaged my coach and said, okay, I stepped on the scale. Something told me to weigh myself. I was shocked that I had lost the 2 pounds. And I said, I even changed the batteries just to make sure that it wasn't the batteries that were dying, whatever. And then his response back to me was, which is a very wise response, which is why I enjoy working with him, is he basically said, you know, let's talk about this here. You know, what factor do you think could have possibly made the change here? And so we kind of went back and forth, and we talked about how the different how the lesser exercise could have been causing more inflammation and retaining, right? Because that's what your body does. It always wants to protect. You have to remember that. And then also too, I had probably mentioned to you how I have been adding in more of that cruciferous type of vegetables in my diet to help reduce inflammation as well. Not that I had been feeling achy or any of those things, but that was something that he had recommended to me because I was eating, I don't know, like more potatoes and rice, just out of convenience, to be honest, because of my daughter being sick. It's easy to make. And he said, I want you to kind of go in the direction of the cruciferous vegetables so that we can reduce inflammation. Boom. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? So inflammation is something that you really need to be on top of. It's a huge topic that I talk about with my clients all the time. So when I look at their diet, just like, and he looks at mine, that is something that I say, okay, so, you know, you have a little too much of this in, so let's reduce that so that we can reduce inflammation. Or if somebody says, you know, I'm waking up feeling achy, not really sure why, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, it's inflammation, right? So, you know, several months back, I used to wake up feeling achy, feeling creaky, you know, just feeling like, oh my God. I was like, oh my gosh. Thinking like, okay, maybe I'm just getting older. Maybe this is just par for the course. You know, I'm getting older. Things are changing. I just had a baby at 45, you know, who never expected that, you know, all that. But never crossed my mind initially to say, hey, listen, what are you consuming? You know, let's clean this shit up here. You know what I mean? And then once I started to really like evaluate and you know, dig in, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, we got to reduce some of this inflammation. And, you know, alcohol consumption was definitely something that was, you know, that needed to be, that relationship has changed quite a bit. I've been very transparent about that. When it took me a long time, you know, to get there. At least it was over 2 years. So if you are somebody that, you know, has this urge every weekend, just know that you have the ability to work through it. It just takes time, because I know a lot of times, and I'm not going to go over on this path into alcohol because I could have a whole 2-hour conversation on this, but you know, that's what it is it's an urge, and it's a crave, and it is a habit, and it's something that your brain expects and will want after you have given it that, right? And there's a lot of habit loops and urges and those types of things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so that's part of my job, is to help my clients, to help them recognize when something is a head hunger or an urge or a crave, or if it's really the ghrelin, you know, the ghrelin hormone telling you in your belly, I am hungry, right? So let me just repeat this, and then I'll tell you some tactics that you can do to help you to reduce the inflammation and make you more aware. So again, inflammation is just the body's response to something that's damaged, right? So if it feels that something is damaged, it's going to call the troops and say, hey, we need some repair here. So you could feel inflammation throughout your entire body. Like I said, most people are walking around like that, and they don't even know, because it's their new normal. It's a defense mechanism, okay? Alcohol, sugar, processed meat, pop, energy drinks, and bread, those are huge culprits. And once again, if it didn't have a mother or come from the ground, then really consider reducing or eliminating from your diet. What are some signals of inflammation? Achiness, puffy, spongy feeling, spongy, watery, like you're holding and retaining water, redness, just feeling super achy, that sort of thing. And how can we how can we be proactive in reducing this, right? So like I said, those things that I mentioned to reduce and eliminate. The other things that you could do is you could take things like turmeric. You can get turmeric pills. You could also get just plain powdered turmeric and toss it in like a smoothie or something. I personally always keep a bottle of turmeric on hand. It's not something that I take every day, but I do notice the difference if I do take some, if I'm feeling a little achy. Let's say I knew ahead of time that I might have maybe a couple of glasses of wine or a couple of glasses of beer or bottles of beer, and I'm not fearful of, but just making sure that I'm prepared, that if I do wake up achy or something, then I just have it on hand. But I don't really have that issue because I'm not really engaging in that, but it is good to have on hand. Okay, greens and reds are excellent because you got awesome antioxidants in there. I happen to drink Organifi every single day. Okay, love it. I drink my reds all day long. As a matter of fact, my reds are right over there. I drink my reds all day long. My greens I drink in shot form first thing in the morning. If you are interested in checking out Organifi products, I would highly recommend it. USDA certified organic, gluten-free, it's vegan, super awesome. And you could go to www.kellysfavorites.com, and that will take you to their site. And then if you plug in the code KellyD at checkout, then you'll get 15% off, okay? So once again, it's www.kellysfavorites.com. I can actually type it in here because people will probably ask me for it anyway. kellysfavorites.com, and then code KellyD at checkout. And you have to use that link to get that discount, okay? So at checkout for 15% off. Okay, so turmeric, greens, reds, nuts are great. And then also things like stress management. That's the other thing that I forgot to mention that is inflammation causing is stress. I think that I will throw in a live because I only have 7 more to go. We've got plenty of time. I think on one of the next 7, we can talk about stress and how stress affects your body. It affects your weight loss. It affects everything. Okay. So you need to de-stress, decompress, and de-stress your body. It is of major importance. So things like deep breathing, meditation, just anything restorative, yoga, Epsom salt baths. Okay. Sex, masturbation, that's included. Okay. All right. So that is pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. I thought that it was a good topic to talk about because information just kind of kept coming up. I was talking with my mom. My mom's actually on here, just mentioning to her about how my stepdad, he's in some pain in his neck and how he needs to really watch what he's eating right now so that he can keep that inflammation down, because the less inflammation that you have, the more that you're going to reduce the pain. So that said, here's an example. If you're somebody that is continuously getting steroids from a doctor, the reason that they're giving you the steroids is so you can reduce the inflammation. Once you reduce the inflammation, then the pain usually goes away. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can be proactive and you can, really be mindful of those foods that you're eating. And that can also help along with any type of aches, pains, and ailments that you might have. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you're continuing and you're in part of the challenge, this is definitely one of the lives that you can watch to, tell me what you thought, what your biggest takeaways were from it. Make sure that you get your form to me no later than tomorrow. And then we're heading into week 4. If you're part of the challenge, week 4 starts tomorrow. I did email out the instructions. I also did post it in this group under announcements. Okay, so announcements are you're going to find at the top of the group page. It used to be what was called pinned post, and now they kind of got smart, because what it was is before, when you could pin a post, you could only put one. But now they changed it to announcements so that you can have several announcements. And so I've been putting the 5-week challenge information in the announcement section, and then you can actually find week 1, week 2, week 3, and now week 4 in there, and then I'll put week 5, and then once that's over with, then it will go away, and then we'll have new announcements going in there, right? So I hope you found this informative. Thank you for taking the time on a Sunday, and I am actually on my way to Starbucks because I kindly asked my husband, I said, I really got to get something done. I'd really like to have the no distraction, so I can, instead of spending 10 minutes on something that would take me, you know what I'm saying, what would take me 3 hours, a 10-minute thing could take me 3 hours to do. So if I can, focus on something to be undistracted, then I'll be way more productive. So have a great day. Again, let me know if you have any questions on anything. Let me know if you have any questions on the Organifi products, but the information is here if you'd like to go check it out as well. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.